sounds okay.
There we go.
Okay. I've got you.
All right. Hey.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing very well. Doing very well. Were you doing your nails as you're waiting?
Yeah, I was like, this is a little messed up.
Okay. Well, it's glad to be able to get to chat with you, just to at least getting in before you blow up, and then you'd get a whole entourage, and so yeah. But as I said, the way I've done my stuff, so as a therapist, I'm always interviewing people all the time just to see what's going on. But so I always start from the beginning, and then I don't prepare notes; it just flows as well and stuff. But I think for us, must be the music. It's like, how is it that you manage to be one in a million, to become a singer, songwriter, and be able to do the stuff where most of us don't? So it's like going back to the beginning and stuff. So
Yeah.
So Cleveland, Ohio, is that where you're born and raised?
Yes, I am. Born and raised.
Okay. So it's far from LA, it's far from New York, it's far from Atlanta. It doesn't seem like it's where stars are born. So how did you start off in the music as a kid?
Oh, so as a kid, my family was very musical. My grandmother was a dancer.
Your grandmother what kind of dance? That grandmother was.
My grandmother did African dance, so she was the first person to kind of bring African dance to Cleveland.
Oh.
And taught at the high schools and different colleges, and so yeah, my grandmother was a dancer. My father was a musician. My grandfather was one of the original members of the OJs.
What?
Yeah, he had to come back because my mom was being born, but he was a part of the original group, Howard Johnson. And so I always had music around me. It was always there within me. My father would train me as early as 1 year old, take me up to the attic and play notes and ask me to sing them back.
Wow. And
so I started playing keys when I was about 5.
Okay.
And I say, from maybe about 9, I've been writing. And then I formed a group.
Okay. So if we go back to when you're about 5, 9, and you're learning to play the piano, was this stuff that you wanted to do as a kid, or did you think, oh goodness, parents are trying to get me into singing?
Yeah, no, like I loved it. I always wanted to play the piano. Always wanted to play the piano, and I learned by ear.
Okay.
Listening to songs and trying to replay what I heard and stuff like that. So yeah, it was me. It was all me.
Okay. And then, but you mentioned that you started to write when you were 9. How did that come about?
Oh man, so I had my group. And I wanted to perform. Like, I don't know, it was just in me. I wanted to create an album. So
at 9?
started, yeah, at 9, 4th grade. I wanted to write us some songs so that we could go perform them. I was arranging the girls. I was arranging like, okay, you sing the top note, I'll sing the middle, you sing the bass. Like I was just there. It was.
What was your dad? Because since he was part of a legendary group, he probably could have seen. How was he? Did he think this was good, or did he think, come on? What was their impression of what you were doing at 9?
So my grandfather, he didn't necessarily know about my group. My group was more so at school.
Okay.
My childhood, after a while, it got pretty lonely because my parents were out working and they were doing what they had to do to make ends meet. So I was kind of like solo, solitary in all of the things that I was doing. But I was always a creative child. I always had a big imagination. And you know what I can say? Disney movies really influenced me musically.
Oh, how so?
Because I think the arrangements were so attractive to me.
Okay.
It was almost like it was a magic in the Disney movies that reminded me of why I was on the planet, if that makes sense. I would hear certain things and I'd be like, yo, I want to do that. Like, I want to make that. I want to sing that. I want to be a part of that. And so I think Disney movies was a huge impact on me as far as wanting to create music.
Did you have any that you can remember? Any of the productions or Disney stuff that you can remember?
Yeah, I actually just revisited a movie last night. It was called Alice in Wonderland.
Okay. Okay.
And the music to me, it reminds me of like 1920s, 1940s. Even the first song that comes on, Alice in Wonderland, it's all of this like classical and harmonies, and it's just so beautiful to me. And that was just kind of like, yeah, I want to do that.
So no, I mean that's impressive. And as you were looking at the Disney stuff, on the contemporary side, were there any sort of people that you were watching? I don't know how you are to think about who was out when you were 9 years old. Who were the R&B singers or classical singers out that you would have looked at?
Well, I think that when I was younger, I didn't necessarily see that again outside of Disney movies until I actually went to college and I started to go for music. That's when I got reintroduced to the classical music that I loved. I love Beethoven. Love, 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 love Beethoven. And that was a classical composer for me that just really attracted me. You know, just his choices and the things that he would decide, it was so different and it stood out to me. But the closest thing I had to that was jazz and blues.
Okay.
So that was something that was played in my household. And so I loved Louis Armstrong and I loved Billie Holiday. And then more contemporary, I loved, you know, Whitney Houston, and I loved Mariah Carey, and I loved Boyz II Men. I loved hearing harmonies, okay, you know, and certain blue notes. That's why rhythm and blues was attracted to me, because it had the blues element in it. So,
okay. So yeah. If we go back to then to sort of high school, because that's a little coming of age type of stuff. Did you try and perform in school? What were you trying to do musically?
Yeah, there was we have a school called the Cleveland School of Arts, and I wanted to go there really, really bad, but you had to stay in the district, but my school did have choir. We did, I participated in choir, I think, for 3 out of the 4 years of high school. So we had that. We did a lot of gospel songs in high school. And I think after high school, when I got into college, that's when I was really kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go for this like full-fledged.
See, when you're describing high school, you almost as if it was it sounded as if it wasn't it didn't sound like going up. It almost felt like it was going down, and it's like, based on how you describe high school, which is quite strange. Yeah,
I had an interesting high school career because I was so different. You know, I you know, a lot of the kids were into trends and fads and fashion and, you know, things that were cool, like technology and stuff like that. And I just wanted to make music. You know, even when I was in class, I wanted to make music. I was a very intelligent kid. So I would be, you know, with the intelligent kids, quote unquote intelligent kids, because I think everybody's intelligent. Okay. You know, they would separate us from everybody else because we had different classes.
Okay.
So that kind of separated me from the popular crowd. But then I joined the dance squad and band. And so that kind of got me back in the popular, but because I was in the interesting, you know, the intelligent classes, I guess, for lack of a better term, was just always, I never completely fit into a category.
Okay.
And so it was different for me. And the music kind of, it was there, but it kind of got lost because it was, you know, I had an interesting high school career.
Okay, okay. And,
Yeah.
but then at this point, was it, did you ever envision it as, I'd actually want to make something out of this, or was just, you know, you're in high school, you're playing around, you can sing a little bit. What was
it was always, it has, as early as I can remember, it has always been, this is who I am, this is what I want to do. As I got older and got, you know, more closer to the industry, I was able to better define, you know, because I thought that I just wanted to be a singer, but I didn't realize that all singers don't write their own music, and I love writing, you know. So I was like, and you know, sometimes with your career, if you're going so, you know, depending on your rate, how fast you're going, you could possibly not have time to create the music, and other people have to create it for you while you go do interviews and shows and things like that. So I got to be able to better define how I wanted to be an artist. But I've always known that I wanted to create music, always.
So here we are at 9, you're writing. When you get to college, were you still writing in high school going into college? And,
Yes.
and what were you doing with the stuff you were writing?
Well, I met my husband, who was my husband at the time.
Okay, that's quite young. Okay.
He was my husband at the time, but I met him, and he was a singer, songwriter, engineer, and he was actually, it's so funny because the first time I came over his house, you know, he sent me some stuff online, found him online, he sent me some stuff. I was like, yo, this is dope, like, who records you? And he was like, I record myself. So I was like, where do you live? Like, can
Okay.
I was writing and I was producing at that point, but I was not recording.
Oh, okay. What does that mean?
So like, I wasn't going to music studios to actually record my music.
Okay, so what were you doing?
I would just, you know, perform at home. I would have my keyboard and I would have my little notebook and I would write my songs and I would sing them to myself. I would maybe record on my phone.
Okay.
Gone and actually made a song.
Okay.
So he was that point for me. So I went to go meet him, and when I met him, he was on FaceTime with Christina Milian. Okay. And I was like, who is this dude? And we got off he got off the phone and we spoke or whatever. And he was like, yeah, I really do this for real. So if you're going to come in, you got to be serious. And I was like, I'm ready. So he developed me as far as a recording artist. Showed me how to record myself. He would engineer my vocals, and then I had songs.
Okay, but then what about if we go back a little bit about the singing, because I noticed that people have the gift to be able to sing, but people go to vocal coaches to help them with their breathing and the tone. Mm-hmm. Did you have any of that, or did you just went from writing, singing on your own to recording?
I think choir kind of taught me some things, but a lot of stuff I literally just picked up on my own, listening to different artists and hearing what made the difference with their voice and their tone and their delivery, and picking up the things that I wanted to have for my own sound. So, you know, this has just always been a program in my brain, like figure this out and go do it. So I think over the years, I've definitely had people kind of teach me certain things. One of the guys who I met maybe in 2015, I want to say, his name is Dan Shea. Dan Shea, he produced everybody: Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, Boyz II Men, Jennifer Lopez. And being in the studio with him, I shared maybe about 4 weeks with him. He taught me a lot. in a short amount of time. I've always been a quick picker upper, but he showed me some things like smiling when you record, so that you can seem happy, and focusing on your vowels of the words so that people can understand what you're saying. And you know, he taught me a lot of things that made a difference with my tonality and what I'm able to do as far as recording. So yeah, but pretty much I was just self-taught.
Okay. So we get you in college, and you met your husband before he was your real husband. Were you still in college, or you'd finished college?
I was still in college. So that actually made me, it didn't make me, but it influenced me to quit, because everything that they were teaching me in school that I was paying $30,000 for, he was teaching me at home, at his home. So I was learning all of the programs, and I was like, you know what? I need to fully focus and put everything into learning right here. I felt like I found my tribe, I found my team, and so that's what I did. I quit school.
Okay. So what did you go for? What were you studying?
I was studying recording arts and technology.
Okay. And so you call your parents and say, I'm quitting college to get self-taught by this guy who I met online, and they said, go girl. What was that like?
Oh, they did not say go.
What was that there?
They, you know, of course they wanted me to follow my dreams, but they also wanted me to have a backup plan, you know, and eventually over the years I had to eventually tell my mom, like, look, mommy, you know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put 110% in this, and I'm willing to sacrifice everything. And I said, you know, when I'm on the phone with you, I was like, you have two choices at this point. I was like, you can either support me and encourage me, because this is my decision and I'm not changing it, or I can't call you as much, because it's discouraging me to hear you say things like, you know, you need a plan B, you need a backup plan, blah, 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 blah. I was like, there is no plan B. There's this or nothing.
Wow.
And, you know, from then on, my mom was fully 100% supportive. But I was glad that I was brave enough to have that talk with her, because
Okay. Yeah, you know, you've got me shaking. I'm like, you're saying it's this or nothing. But then what was this? What was it that you were, what were you seeing that no one else could see that at that point that you were going to do?
Well, you know, I think people think that it's just a 1 in a million chance that you can be successful in solely creating music and supporting your life.
Yeah.
And it is probably 1 in a million, you know, but it's not by chance, you know, it's by your mindset. It's by your ability to keep going when things are hard. It's by your work ethic and your diligence, you know, and those are the things that made an extreme difference, you know, from me versus maybe somebody else that was thinking that they were going to do this and they got discouraged for whatever reason and they quit, you know.
Where does talent come in? Because all the will in the world, if you don't have the natural ability to sing, write music, and actually visualize arrangements, you know, you're stuck.
So you're asking me, where does talent come in?
Yeah, because you know, we're going back to, you know, you come from a very creative family, from grandparents, and from 5 and 9, you know, you've had this in you, and so, and then you also have this academic and background as well. So I could see how the ability to focus and really solve problems are there, but you've also you backed it up with your creative talent. And I can see how those two together can really start pushing doors. But if you didn't have that within you, that gift to write, you know, because I've spoken to a lot of songwriters and they say, yeah, you know, I was sitting at a piano and the song came, and I'm like, but I can't do that. I can, you know, so it's not, it doesn't seem as if we can all do it. So did you notice that you had, there was a gift you had that?
Yeah, I did. I was blessed with definitely a gift. But I've seen so many people with gifts that don't make it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and when I say make it, what I mean is you literally have to make it up in your mind. And that's another thing that Disney helped me with was activating my imagination. You know, if you don't visualize yourself and where you want to be and how you want it to be, if you don't use your imagination to conjure up those things, you're not making it. You know, it's not being made by your mind. And even so, yes, I can say that I am talented, and I was blessed with talent. But even if I was not blessed with talent, anybody can make the life that they see for themselves. Anybody can. You just have to be 100% dedicated to your own vision. That's all.
Yeah, and you know, that's really powerful about that being able to see it and then believe it. And I guess, you know, if I look back at it as a therapist and I'm dealing with somebody who's struggling with self-esteem or depression, there is that sense of what's your long-term goal. So we're working towards stuff, because if you're depressed and you think life is crazy, that's it, nothing's going right, if you don't have a hope and a future, it's quite easy to give up and stuff. So yeah, it's really powerful. So I'm seeing your folks, your mom coming on board and says, okay, I believe in you and stuff. And that was the motivation. You quit college and, oh. Okay.
I put my phone on Don't Disturb.
Okay. So I thought I was talking, yeah. So you quit college, you with your husband then, and he's teaching you to record. Yeah. What were you, so in that point, were you just then learning, okay, how to operate how to do the recording, or what were you learning in those times?
Oh my gosh, I was learning so much. You know, the main thing that I was learning that experiences have such a big role in what you're able to create and write about. So I was learning that, yeah, you can go do work, but you have to go live life. You have to accomplish things within your spirit, within your heart, within your mind, so that you can be able to go to these different places. Because with art, people want you to take them somewhere, and probably somewhere where they're maybe not be able to take themselves at the time. So I think that it was so important for me because I was cultivating love with my husband, and I learned how important that is when you are pursuing your dreams and pursuing your passion, having a partner to kind of back you up and stand by your side when you feel like giving up, or you feel like quitting, or you don't feel encouraged. But aside from that, I was also learning to work with different programs and record myself, and how to finish a song and structure and all of that stuff. So it was like school for me.
And now most people will start thinking that, well, isn't it just like you just start a song, you sing it to the end, and you just record that, and then that's it? So I mean, but you're making it seem as if you almost chop it into little pieces and have to patch it up like a jigsaw.
Yeah. Well, for me, I do, because I think I want to make the most of every moment. I want to make the most of every hook. I want to make the most of every verse. You know, I want to make sure that people get that feeling in each moment of the song. You know, and so you got to learn how to take people up and down with a good story. You know, you have the beginning, you have the climax, you know, you have the rise, and then you come down and you have your conclusion. So I had to apply that to songwriting, because you can write a song, but what makes it a good song? What makes it a song that people want to revisit and replay over and over again? And that's that invoking that emotion and having that momentum and that energy flow and that movement of, you know, intro, take me up,
Yeah.
bring down, take me up again, and, you know,
Yeah.
conclude, make me feel like, oh, that was the greatest ride ever.
Yeah. But when you were learning this recording process, were you going to do any performances? Because it's one thing to be in the studio, like recording your vocal, but where were you performing?
I was performing locally. I did a lot of local performing, and that was another thing. You know, from local performing, I was learning like, oh, okay, all of these mics don't sound the same. All of the, you know, the different crowds and what they react to. So I was learning how to pick what song was best for what crowd, and a stage presence, and, you know, how to fight through nerves, you know, because at the beginning when I would sing and I was nervous, my voice would crack.
Okay.
So I had to learn how to get through that. And
yeah, but you said learn. Who was taking you through this? Because how? So you've quit school, and you were learning recording. Where were you actually? Where was your first gig? What happened? How was that?
My first gig?
Yeah. So here you are. Okay, I want to go this full time. I'm learning now with you know, with my then husband.
Well, I was going to say that I performed as a child. So because of my grandmother being so influential with African dance, we were on the news. We had to perform. We did a lot of college performances when I was like 7. I would be in big stages doing African dancing and things like that. So I had performed a great deal of my life. Even in high school, we did a lot of school plays, and I would get solos and stuff like that. So I was just picking up along the way. My mom would put me in competitions sometimes here and there.
Yeah.
So I would do that. And then once I was kind of like on my own, like out of the house, out of my mom's house, I would get like local gigs, and I would just pick up stuff from there, like learn how to perform. And I did House of Blues, and I did we have a big church called the Trinity Cathedral. It was like 600 people there, and it was televised. And, you know, so I've done things. I've just, you know, literally it was like throwing me to the wolves and how to survive. Literally.
Now, but I wonder though, in those crowds, those are safe, you know, it's performing in a church, they chairs for a lot of things in school and stuff. But then when you were going into the sort of House of Blues and performing, was it your own stuff or cover songs?
I always performed my own stuff. I only didn't perform my own stuff like one time. So I've always, because that's very important to me, like my writing and me putting, like, I just love presenting my creations, because that's the music that I feel the most. So I was always performing original music. And that's funny that you bring up the safe crowd, because I don't think I ever felt that. I don't think I ever felt in danger. I was always so present with what I was performing that I don't, I mean, I was aware beforehand, like, okay, this is this type of audience and they like this type of music. But, you know, I never really thought about, oh, this is a church. Because even though it was a church, the people weren't church people.
Okay.
Like church congregation. The show had just rented out the venue because it was so.
Okay, I thought it was a Sunday morning you were singing, and they're like, "Well, we'll cheer you on."
Yeah, gotta for you if it's that. But yeah.
Okay, so here I am. So I'm and I always wonder how it is like when you do perform your own stuff, because when you do have an audience, you have very short period of time for them to say, okay, do we know this one? What's she singing? Is that Whitney? Is that Mary? And you're singing your own stuff. And unless you have a very distinct voice, or you've got a really good band to go with, it can go either way. When you were performing, were you using a backing track, or did you get your piano? How were you delivering, and how and what kind of, were you up tempo, or was it slow? What was it?
Yeah, actually, I have performed with just me and my piano. I performed with a band. I've performed with backtracks. I think my favorite is performing with a live band. That's my favorite way to perform. But I've done all of it really. Um, so yeah, yeah, I done all of it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and I think my look and my the tone of my voice is so interesting to people. I think that's just what gets them involved in the performance if they don't know me already.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like, wow, what is that?
Mm.
You know, and my music is very interesting. It has those little choices that attracts people. So I think those are the things that kind of kept the performance on a good. I never got booed or anything like that. I would.
Now you mentioned your looks, and I guess we also have to go back to your name. And you mentioned your grandmom teaching African dance, and I guess that's a very, unless you well, everyone's from Africa, but unless they were second generation African, why are you? What's your heritage?
So I think that my family, we are mixed with pretty much everything. Uh, yeah, we pretty much got everything. But I came up, my dad's side of the family was Muslim at first. So he changed, my grandfather like changed our last names and everything like that. I grew up like not eating pork um, and then my mom she went through a couple of things. I think she went through Buddhism and then she did Christianity. I think she even did, I think she did something else too, if I'm not mistaken. But I've been exposed to a lot of different religions and a lot of different cultures. So I feel like I represent everybody. Like we literally have every single thing somewhere on the line. So yeah, so that was a big part of me growing up and experiencing just different cultures, multicultural experience.
What about your name? Was this Nefertiti? Is that the name that your parents gave you and you were using it as a kid in high school and college, or is it? It is.
Yeah. My dad named me. I actually think I named myself.
Okay.
I think my dad like, hey, my name is. And it was hard for me in school because the kids would tease me, and I went through the whole, I want to change my name because every time the teacher says my name, the kids laugh and it's the whole thing. And my dad said, you have to wait till you grow up and you understand your name. And then if you still want to change it, then we can change it. But he was like, I want you to understand who you are first. And I didn't want to hear that at the time. I was frustrated. I wanted to be like Jasmine or something, like like the normal names that I heard every around me. But I'm glad that he didn't change it. I love my name. It embodies so many things for me, but especially me spiritually, because I definitely walk in the energy of a queen. So, and Nefertiti was the most powerful queen as well. She was considered a pharaoh.
Yeah.
How powerful she was. And then what she did, Nefertiti and Akhnaten changed religion in Egypt. Everybody back in Egypt in those times was worshiping different gods. So they had the gods of the waters, and they had the gods of the sky, and they had the gods of the crops, and the gods of the animals. Mm. And I think Nefertiti and Akhnaten came and said, listen, how can we bring everybody together to where, because religion, it brings a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
oh, well, my God is better than yours, and I'm right and you're wrong, and this and that and third. And I think they were kind of thinking, like, how can we unify this all? What's one thing that we can use? And they came up with the sun. And so they began, because the sun touches everything and everybody equally. So, and the sun gives everything vitality. So I think them coming up with that was brilliant and ingenious. And I think that I follow that way with, as far as the music industry, you know, because I want to bring evolution to the music industry. And I've said this since I was maybe 15, like learning how the game goes, learning how the contracts go, learning how the record labels go, learning how creators get cut out of the finances a lot of times. And I always said to myself, and I wrote and I would study and I would be like, I think that this can evolve in a good way. And I think that I'll be a part of the evolution, just like Nefertiti was a part of the religious evolution in Egypt. So
you had that back when you were around 15, you were thinking that far ahead and stuff.
Oh yeah, I was a bizarre kid.
Well, I mean, I'm okay. So have you spoken to, so did you ever go back and have a conversation with Dad about why did you give me the name, just after you sort of reflected on Queen Nefertiti and stuff? Did you ever have that sort of?
Well, my dad is an interesting man. He's a very powerful man. And he wanted to make sure that I knew who I was. So he wanted to make sure that I had a name or I had a title that rose me to the occasion of life. And so he was looking through some books and he found Nefertiti, and it means the beautiful one has come.
Wow.
That's the meaning of the name. And so my middle name, Avani, it means earth. So my whole name is a sentence. The beautiful one has come to earth. And so that's the title that he decided to give me.
Yeah. And but have you gone back and said, well, God, you know, I've reflected on that? I mean, because I'm, you know, my heritage is Nigerian, and most of our names are very much named after, you know, the son of your grandfather, or you walk in God's power. So our names are really given in that sense. So you don't just get called Peter, you know, that'll be a middle name, but you get a traditional name that has a meaning. So it's very common for our Africans to give your kids names and meanings, but I would also, with that thought and hope that actually it would have come to pass, just as your dad sort of looked and gave that. And did you, as I said, when did you realize that, you know, actually I've got a powerful name, and stop running away from it? When did that crossroad come?
I think I took African history in the 10th grade is when, and I would get, you know, some teachers would say, you know, you have a powerful name, you know, just over the years. And then I took that course, and that really dove me into, let me find out who Nefertiti was, the history, and that began that journey for me. And so I'll say 10th grade was when I was like, oh, okay. Because it worked into my purpose, you know, it worked into who I am and what I'm here to do, and so many different things.
And at that time, if people were making fun, how did you respond afterwards, after you sort of have an understanding?
Actually, when we were in the 10th grade, everybody was kind of grown up at that time. So even if, you know what I mean, even if they didn't know what the name meant, I think it was just kind of like, oh, that's different. And, you know, we had maturity then. And then, you know, there was a phase. Do you remember when Michael Jackson came out with Remember the Time.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because that video was actually released on my birthday.
Wow.
And I don't know if you recall in the video, Queen Nefertiti.
Is that what man played Queen Nefertiti? Okay.
Queen Nefertiti, and Michael Jackson was, you know, trying to get the approval and the love of the queen.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the Nefertiti chains, they're starting to come back now. Thing in the 90s, and now it's coming back. People, you know, Tupac has a tattoo. I think Rihanna has a Nefertiti tattoo.
Wow.
I'm see all of this different like Nefertiti stuff, and it's almost a calling to me spiritually. Like, you know, the world is, I'm just like this, so I'm just gonna be myself.
Yeah.
I feel the world, you know, is ready for, because I know that I'm an experience. You know, when I come forth and when I speak my mind and when I create music, you know, it is going to move the world forward. So I think that it's kind of like a calling, like, okay, we're ready. Come on.
Yeah.
It's your time now.
Yeah, no, but it's and you hop back to that sense of visualization and that sense of purpose. You know, without purpose, people perish. If you don't have a vision, if you don't have a sense, if your goals aren't bigger than you can manage, then it's quite easy to attain them. If your goal was just to finish high school, then it's like, what's next? If you think, I want to get a PhD and go to the moon, that's a lot. So it keeps you on your toes to keep working towards that. So it's I mean, we'll get to the whole music industry stuff, but so, you know, you work with your husband, and I guess after a while things changed from him just being a teacher to things changing.
Yeah.
Did you then start thinking, okay, around what year was this, that you know you quit college and you were like doing your working, learning?
I met my husband in 2011. I met my husband in 2011. So at that time, I was just kind of like, okay, now that we're together and now that we're recording music and everything, I finally had a product. Okay. So once I had the product, that's when I could start emailing people and reaching out to people, and he could email people and reach out to people and say, hey, we got this, check it out, what do you think? We're, you know, and so that was the start of me walking myself into the industry.
Okay. Okay. So how did that, so this is our part now. Okay. How did you start taking your product? What was happening?
So basically I began to release my music. So I released maybe like 1 or 2 songs. There were different platforms at the time, like SoundCloud and Reverb Nation, and I would look and the song would go #1.
Wow.
Like on this site, and I'm like, hey, I think we're good. Like, I think we're kind of good. So from there, I began to, you know, involve different people, like involve different producers, work with different producers outside of myself and my husband. And I began to get like involved with like award shows. Like people would do like certain award shows around the city, and I would win awards. And so I started to like, when I was working with other producers, that's when I started to get reach further and higher and higher and higher.
In what way?
Because they would be already accomplished in the industry. So everybody was older than me. Like everybody else was more accomplished. They were well into their career more than me, which was very helpful because they could just basically like lift me into what was going on. So I would reach out to them and I would send them some music and they'd be like, yo, this is amazing. And that's how I got involved with Missy Elliot. That was like my first celebrity encounter.
Okay, so 2011. You've seen your husband. What year was this that you sort of met up with Missy?
That was 2015. So 2015. I actually have a interesting story about this. If you want to hear it.
Yeah,
if not, I can keep it.
No, there's we've got all the time. Go ahead.
All right. So in 2015, one day I was sitting at home in my bed, and so I am a medium, as people will call it. I don't call it that, but people call it a medium, where you're able to communicate with the non-physical, communicate with people who have transitioned. And it's never been strange or bizarre to me because I've always had it. I didn't know that everybody didn't. That was kind of like a find out thing for me. So so this is my normal life, you know, and I was in communication with Aaliyah. And Aaliyah came to me and she said, I want you to do a 21-day fast. Fruits and water. She said, on the 21st day, that'll be my birthday. On my birthday, I'm going to connect you to Missy Elliot and Timberland. And I want you to develop a relationship with them. There's a song that we didn't finish that I want you to finish. So I'm like, how am I gonna meet Missy? I'm like, what? I don't know these people. I don't know anybody who knows them. I don't know what this is, but I'm always obedient and I followed it. That was the first time where something had been as strong as that. So I did the 21-day fast. Her birthday came January 16th. I kid you not, I have witnesses. I was like, I don't know how this is going to happen. I don't know what I have to do. And I was on Twitter and I looked at my mentions, and a friend of mine who's a producer, her name is Victoria's One, but she went as Lady Trauma back then. She was on Twitter. I didn't mention to her about the fast or anything. And she added me to Missy. And she said, Missy, I want you to check out Nefertiti. She's a songwriter. She's really dope, blah, 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 blah. From there, literally, Missy followed me on Twitter. And she was like, let's call, because that day, Missy was looking for songwriters. She was like, I'm looking for some songwriters, da, 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 da. So that's what inclined my friend to at me. And so from there, we did a record. We did like 3 records, and it was just one record that she really, really loved. And we haven't got to the Aaliyah thing yet, but it's coming, you know. So yeah, that's how I that's how I got in contact with Missy Elliott. Literally, that's the story.
So I've got 2 parts to this. The first one is, did you tell Missy about the whole experience and about the missing song?
No, not yet, because it's not time yet.
Okay.
When it's time, she'll know. She'll know.
Okay. And then the other part is, you seem more worried about meeting Missy and less worried the fact that Aaliyah came to talk to you. I'm trying to balance.
Oh, because, but you know, always, because she always does. It's not a thing for me. Like, it's like, you know, a little bit before then, and then ever since then, she's always just present with me, you know. And you know, one part of being non-physical or not having a physical body, you can be 500 places at one time, you know, and you can be received by anybody who's in tune and who's listening. So that I mean, like I said, that's always been my normal, regular life. And but once I started to get in contact with more musicians and more people who created music, like Prince and Michael Jackson, and
is this after they passed, or is it before they? Oh, afterwards. Okay.
Yes. So this is all in their transitioning. You know, they once they began to help me make music, Static Major is another person who, and he actually wrote with Aaliyah.
Yeah, from Player.
So once I began to make these contacts more and more, it let me know even further, like, wow, this is really what I'm here to do, and it's bigger than just making music and being famous. You know, it's about getting people through tough times. You know, it's about encouraging people with music. It's about using your platform to talk about things that are encouraging and healthy for people. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about being famous and making money. And that's what those people were on the planet doing. You know what I mean? They wanted to make a difference. And so just because they don't have their physical bodies no more, they're still working. They're working through all of us. And so, you know, I'm a part of that, and I'm blessed to be a part of that, you know.
So, I mean, I guess what you're alluding to is to a lot of people could be seen as, wow, that's because most people are sort of seen as believing and might be really like, wow, taken aback by that. And I just wonder, especially now within the industry, is it do people, is it, because as you're saying here, it's almost as if, oh yeah, it's almost seems very nonchalant, but
yeah.
do you have some conversations when you're working with other people, like, yeah, I've just had a conversation with Lee yesterday, and they're like, oh, okay, then what did she say? Or were they like, how do you
well, so here's the thing about, I don't work with a lot of people all the time. So my immediate circle is very intimate. Yeah. So they know I've been like this forever. And so, you know, they're used to it. And a lot of things have been intertwined with them, you know, so they already know that, you know, they're already used to things like this. But as far as outside people, you know, because I had to grow to realize that this was different. You know, you coming up as a kid, you're not thinking that you're thinking everybody is doing this.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, when I started to be externalize what was happening to me with my mom and things like that, she was like, huh? Oh, wow. You know, so I was like, what you mean? Like, this doesn't happen to you? This doesn't happen to Dad? This doesn't happen to my brothers? You know, and then I was like, oh, so it was a relief to get older and find, you know, different mediums and things like that, and to see, you know, it on TV. You know, the FBI uses people who use their psychic minds to feel things out and stuff like that. It's all it is I think really like a sensitivity, you know, and I'm an audio person, so I'm able to hear different frequencies. I'm more sensitive to different frequencies, maybe higher frequencies than, you know, the average ear. Yeah. You know, I think everybody has some type of, you know, extra sense. Yeah. You know, and it's just, it can go away if you don't tap into it, but if you do tap into it, you know, it's yours for a reason. So you should be using it and putting it towards, you know, your purpose.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I've been doing this show for a while and spoken to different musicians and songwriters from groups and Grammys and stuff, and they, when they'll credit their ability to sing and write a song to God. They'll say, you know, because I'm saying you sit on the piano, then a melody comes in, you're writing, and the lyrics just come up. And I said, well, how is that possible? And they say, well, it's a spiritual gift from God, because it's you know, it's almost as if it's floating, and they were in the position to receive it. So, because that separates those who can perform and sing and do that from the rest of us. And I guess in some ways you're also attributing a lot of your spiritual giftings that it is a gift that you have, and you are making yourself available to connect and hear and receive inspiration and to move forward. And I guess it's one of the things that those who are close to you probably got used to it. And I guess it's the kind of thing where if they were freaked out about it, I'm sure they would say, you know, it's I don't think so, and move on? Or did you have any of that?
If I did have any of that, I'm
Any of your
unaware.
friends or close ones who said, "Ah, yeah, this is just a little too much. I'm out of here."
No, no. And you want to know why? Because, you know, people who are non-physical, they don't just come to you just to come to you, and they can see, so there's no time with them. So you know how like we can't see tomorrow until we experience tomorrow. There's no today, tomorrow for them. It's just vision. They can see everything all the times. And so they're not going to come to you for a show. So I'm saying that to say a lot of times my friends found out because, you know, their grandmother has transitioned and become non-physical, and they have something to tell them. So for instance, my friend, my very best friend, we were sitting in the kitchen, and I was like, hey, you know, your grandmother who has transitioned, she wants to say something to you. So, you know, I don't never push it on anybody, or I don't ever start the conversation without their consent. So, you know, once she says she's open to it, you her grandmother had told us that one of her cousins were pregnant. And the cousin wasn't telling anybody because she was afraid and this and that and the third. But she said, you know, I need you to know so that you can call her and tell her that it's okay. And so once we had that conversation, she called her cousin, and her cousin started crying. She was like, "Oh my gosh, how did you know? Yes, I am pregnant." And she said, "Grandma told me." And she was like, "I want you to know it's okay." So I'm saying they come with a purpose. They don't come just to show that this person can do this or that. Like it's very purposeful and meaningful. So everybody around me, if they I don't just come and say, "Hey, I'm getting this message from this person." No.
Okay.
They're coming with, so if they know, it's because something has happened to where somebody wants to speak to them. And it just made complete total sense in their lives to where they know you can't just make this up. How would I know? I don't even know the girl or anything, so yeah.
So because we got to where you met Missy in 2015. And I noticed that you had, let me try and look it up, one for the bottle 2014, and I just saw it out just as we're preparing for this, and I was like, oh, it's a nice little track, but it was 6 years ago. What happened? What happened with that? And
so what happened was, I was getting involved, and I started to notice things. Like I said, I started to notice, people in.
So you were getting involved.
So I was walking towards the industry. So I was getting, I started to get contracts, and I started to have conversations with people that could make things happen.
Okay.
Radio wise or whatever. And I was noticing politics, and I was noticing things like you couldn't always be open with things that were happening to you. There's like a secrecy, and being careful with talking about, like, even me being such a spiritual person, you can't always be open if, depending on your path, things scare people away, things intimidate people, so on and so forth. And that made me be like, whoa, because stuff was going really, really fast. And I was like, I need to step back, and I need to really define who I want to be, what I want to do here, how long I want to do it, who I want to do it with, why I want to do it. Like, I had to step back, and I had to just define a lot of things for myself. So that was that gap,
Okay. So at this time, your husband, were you guys together? Because I know, and the reason I say this is I think what the Me Too movement exposed to us was how perilous, how dangerous, or how vulnerable female artists were, both singers and movie and in film. I think as you're approaching the industry, it's quite easy to, you know, one of the things that I've always been passionate about music, even though I can't sing or play. But what I noticed is that you'd have a young artist, singer, female, she'd come natural, maybe out of church, and she's singing. Then by the second album, she's almost like a, you know, a striptease, and then she just continues to go down that path before she then no one's buying her stuff, and it was always disheartening to see every artist having to change who they were and stuff. And so, but they had no choice. It was like, take it or leave it.
Yes.
So in those early days, having your husband, then were you able to make sure lines and boundaries weren't crossed when they were coming?
Me and my husband, I'm so glad that we started out as very best friends. So we didn't approach each other like, I'm trying to impress you, you're trying to impress me so we can get together. We always had an honest friendship. You know, we were naturally attracted to each other with what we did and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And so how he played a role was he was always my friend. You know, when I was going through different things and going to different auditions and experiencing different stuff in the industry, he was always my friend, and he always encouraged me to define who I am. Who are you? Who do you want to be? You know, and you can't go out and look. You know, a lot of people go look for who they are. You have to decide. You have to decide. And once you decide, you know, you have to stick with that uncircumstantially. You know, so if I want to say that I'm a loving person, I have to be loving uncircumstantially when people aren't loving to me. You know, when I don't have the ideal circumstances to be loving, I still have to be loving if I'm saying that's who I am. And so he helped me a lot when it came to that. But I still had to experience life. I still had to, you know, navigate my way through different people. And he taught me to, you know, don't try to change people, you know, accept people for who they are. That's a part of loving. And just know that that's not necessarily for you, you know, but don't become opposition to them or try to influence them to be more like you. No, accept them for who they are, embrace them for who they are, and know what's for you and what isn't. So he helped me a lot with that, and I'm so grateful, because I do think that I would have been the type of personality like, this is going on and this is what's happening and everybody needs to, you know, and that's not the way. That's not the way, because, you know, like you were mentioning, the women that are going through, you know, a part of being human is going through your sexuality. And during those years of you turning 21, 22, 23, you're figuring it out, you know, and some people have to figure it out in front of the world, you know, and it's a defining time. You have to find out, you know, and define who you are sexually, you know, what you're attracted to. How far do you want to go with your sexuality? What do you want to bring forth, and what do you want to use your sexuality for? Because it is a powerful magic tool, and it does feel amazing, you know, and we can use sex to do so many different things. We can use sex to manifest. We can use sex to heal. We can use sex to connect ethereally to even other beings, you know, in other worlds and other solar systems, and even closer to ourselves and closer to our partners. So, you know, and I think some people, you know, they use that, and that they exploit that while you're going through that, because that's the height of it. You know, that's the height of it. So you know, they get you at that age, and, you know, you're open and you want to find out. So it's like you're opening your doors because you want to find out what's out there, what's going on, what's happening, what can I do? How powerful am I? How powerful are you? When we put our powers together, what happens? You know what I'm saying? It's just all this stuff. And so, you know, yeah, that's That's how it is.
So that means, so you, when you took the break from being, because after you did the track, is that when you said, yeah, I'm not ready to go out to present myself? So you were looking to be writing and stuff. Was that the case?
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to continue to do my songwriting. And as far as the artist, I'm just going to take a break and I'm going to define who I am as an artist. Who do I want to be? How far I'm willing to go? How far I'm willing to not go? Those type of things. So I took those years to just define myself. But in the midst of that, I was still songwriting behind the scenes for different artists. I was still producing music. And now I've accumulated so much. You know, I have albums worth to where I know when I do finally hit the peak of my popularity, it's gonna probably seem like, yo, this girl's an alien. Like, how is she coming up with stuff when it's really I took a break, and so in that break, I was just cutting records. So now I have an abundance. So
So during that your sort of hiatus as a recording artist, were there people that you would have written for that we might have known?
So yeah, I still do. I just
No,
the
during
music.
that 2014 to about 2019.
Yeah, so the music, it's not out yet.
Okay.
I've written for Keith Sweat. I've written for Missy. Missy even, I believe there's an artist that was featured in one of her videos. I've written music for her. I've written music for Teddy Riley. I've written music for I've written music for people. The music just isn't out yet.
Okay.
So whether these people are working on their albums or getting ready to release, I've written music with a lot of amazing producers, Battlecat, Jellyroll, is a Needlz. I've written music for these people, so we'll see what happens. I think there was also timing in that, because I was thinking like, oh, I'll just write music and be behind the scenes. But no, if one of those songs would have blew up,
yeah,
it would have dragged me in before I was ready.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, and like I said, you know, having these communications with these non-physical beings, you know, whether people want to call them ancestors or angels, they're very angelic to me and with me, you know. And so I do think that they have a hand in, like, you know, just overseeing some stuff, and when it has to do with timing and things like that. So yeah.
Okay. Now, I think there are two questions before we wrap up. One of them was, you going back to 15 and you wanted to revolutionize the industry, that you were studying about contracts and about publishing and deals and all that stuff. So during your sort of hiatus from being in front of the screen, how were you navigating that side? How were you navigating setting up your publishing, making sure that you were signed to your own label if that was the case, and not being taken advantage of? What were you doing?
So that part was partially school. It was partially asking a lot of questions to the right people. I got involved with a guy named Derek, and he taught me how to set up my sound exchange and my PROs and everything like that. I was really honestly learning as I went. I got everything you need to know about the music business, the book.
I know that book, yeah.
That's a popular book. I started to just watch a lot of tutorials about the music industry and how to set yourself up properly to be a business owner and to be an independent artist and earn a living. So I did a lot of research during that time as well to like get that stuff together.
So as it is, you've set your own publishing, you've set your own, so you're signed to yourself, you know, and stuff. Now, and I guess in this time of Black owned and everyone's saying that, so it's almost as if, are you in a position where, okay, you've got your package, you since you created it on your own, so you own your masters, are you tempted to go look for a major label to say, here I am, push me out because one of my tracks are going to blow up, or what's it looking like?
No, I'm not tempted to go look, but I have been presented to labels, and I'm probably being presented right now as we speak. But I'm looking to do more of a partnership, if anything, because I would literally need the reason, like everything that a label would do. I've been able to do that independently on my own. I've been able to get high-end, high-quality producers. I record myself, I mix myself, I master myself. I write my own music. I can hire PR teams and marketing teams on my own. So if there were to be a label situation, it would have to be unique. And it would have to be probably more of a partnership. So I'm not looking for them. I'm sure they're gonna maybe potentially come looking for me at some point. I'm looking for them to look for me.
Okay.
If that is in the cards, if that is in the destiny. And I'm not the type of person where, oh, I'm independent, I'm not gonna blah, blah, blah. Like, it's nothing like that, you know. It just has to be right.
Yeah.
You know, it just has to be right. And if it's right, I have no problem with partnering and you know, bringing some amazing stuff to the world.
Now, I think as we wrap up, I mean, you mentioned, and I noticed Brian Morgan and Teddy all calling your names and stuff, and I guess the interesting thing is how that has developed, where you've now been, you know, Teddy Riley says compared you to Tammy Lucas. Now, if you ask anyone who knows New Jack Swing, she sang on Goodbye Love. I mean, that's how far back, 88.
Yes.
So she's done Is It Good For You? She did the Blackstreet album, Tonight's Tonight. So she's been with him, you know, High Five Struck. She's been in the background of her writing and stuff. So yeah. He says, I'm comparing you to Tammy Lucas. And so that's sacrilege to New Jack fans. But it's almost like, wow, what did you bring to the table that he could just see, wow, be amazed? Because I know he's a music creator and he depends heavily on writers, but he saw something in you that he could evoke Tammy's name.
Yeah, I think he's seen himself in me. I think he's seen the love for music, you know, the passion and the desire and the purpose. You know, we have purpose in music. And like I said, Teddy Riley produced Remember the Time. So I found out at his house.
Oh, you didn't know?
I found out at his house that the video was released on my birthday.
Okay.
I didn't know.
Okay.
But I knew that he produced some of the, because you have to understand, when I was coming up, even from afar, he doesn't even know this, but even from the Winans, there was moments in my life to where I would hear a Teddy Riley production and it would literally remind me why I was on the planet to get to that. So Teddy's sound, New Jack Swing, raised me as a creator. My choices and the things that I make sure that I incorporate came from Blackstreet, came from Guy, came from all of these different things that Teddy had his hands in. So he literally raised me. So I think when I play music, he hears he hears someone that his music has raised, and it attracts him because he's listening to himself and he's listening to an interpretation that he confirms that he's okay with, that is like, this is impressive. You know, so I think, and it's also inventive. We're not completely copying, but we're doing our interpretation of what New Jack Swing and what the magic of Teddy Riley sounds like now. So I think that is what attracts him to me and my husband.
So I mean, Privacy, it came out. Did it come out last year?
Privacy came out this year, 2020.
Okay, it came out this year. So so I'm just, so what was the meaning behind, not the actual video and the song, but I'm just thinking, were you just thinking, I'm ready now to come out, so this is gonna be my first track, or what happened?
You know what I'm saying? That's a good question. So I had took my hiatus, and in the midst of that, you know, I'm getting to know different producers, and so when you're a songwriter, you write the song for the artist, right?
Okay.
And the artist cuts the record and you hear it back and, you know, whatever. I was getting records back and I was like, this is not it. and it was like, I think I have to sing it myself. And I was like, okay, I'm here now. I'm mature. I'm ready. I know what I want. I know how I want it to do. And so something was just like, release Privacy, because I wrote Privacy for Tiana Taylor. And I was supposed to go to her house and present it to her, because I don't really like to send records out to the artists anymore. I like to be there and press play, them to get to know me introduce myself. And so I was actually in Vegas with Teddy, so I couldn't make it to the meeting. So I missed the meeting and I just had the song, but I wrote it for that. So I was just kind of like, I'm gonna release it and just see what happens. And from that, as soon as I released it, I know as soon as I come out with something, I'm like a magnet, and I just attract all of these different things. And so, you know, I released it and it got on the radio, and from there it's probably on like 25 syndicated stations. I got different offers to do different things, and but because of COVID, it kind of put like a little space in between being able to perform and everything like that. But it definitely got attention. People got to see what I'm able to do on my own with no budget, no label, no anything, you know. So I think that attracted people, like, oh, okay, I think she's the real deal.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So with the Brian, could attract the I follow with, yeah, I'm setting up to do an interview with him in a month or two, and so when he was playing, hey, here's new one by Nefertiti, and I was thinking, okay, that was you singing on a track that he was producing for you, or what was that?
Yeah, I'm so glad that I met Brian. I'm so glad that I ran into Brian, and because of the things that I was doing, I had released a song, and you know, little things on the internet of these producers speaking on my behalf, and mentioning to me and putting my name out there. I think I had the weight enough to start introducing myself and presenting myself, telling them what I've done in the past. And them like, okay, well, come on over. Let's see what we can do. And the first track me and Brian did was, oh my God, it's so good. And from there, we just kept going. And so now this is his favorite track. Okay. But before, the one we did was his favorite track. So I think it's going to keep going like that. Like, he's such an amazing producer to have produced SWV, one of our favorite groups. One of our favorite R&B groups, you know what I'm saying? And the songs, they just last for the test of time, year after year after year. It's like, that's what I'm creating for. You know, I want this timeless stuff, and who better than to connect with people that's doing timeless stuff than Brian, than Teddy, than Battlecat, then Jellyroll. You know what I'm saying? These people that just have this stuff that just explodes and, you know, stands the test of time.
Yeah, so you're dropping these big names, and I'm thinking, okay, you don't have Universal or Sony push, or Warner Brothers pushing you, and these guys are like, yeah, we, you know, singing your praises and can't wait to work for you. I'm thinking, but so it's either you've got an angel knocking on doors and saying, you got to give it a chance and it will blow up and you get your money later. But it's I guess, because you have to understand, so for other singer-songwriters who are thinking, how come I've been working the streets, I've been performing, I've been doing my stuff, but I'm not meeting these big producers who are singing my praises, who are offering to work with me without getting $500,000 in their bank account. What do you think has made it that people like Teddy and Brian and others want to work with you, unless you're giving them big cash checks up front?
Yeah. Well, you know, like I said before, I really think that they're identifying with their own sound. So I've aligned myself with the producers who has raised my ear. So this is where I get my musical ear from and where I get my choices from, you know? And so I think when I send them something that I've done, like, hey, check me out, blah, blah, blah. You know, Teddy really opened up the door for me. Teddy really will get the credit for discovering me. And I think that them hearing the things that they love from music. So I would tell the songwriters out there or the singers or whatever, you know, align yourself with the music that you really love and find those people that produced those records, you know, and get yourself in alignment with that sound, with that genre of music, because people love to hear themselves and they love to hear what they love out of music through you. And that's why they bring you on, you know? So, yeah.
So, I mean, what should we expect? I mean, we're 3 or 4 months to the end of the year. So, are we expecting anything else from you this year or next year? What's the plan?
Oh my gosh, you heard it here first. So I am releasing a mixtape November 17th, 2020. Okay. It's interesting because November 17th has always been like my release date for projects.
Okay.
I picked it out because of the 8. So the 17th, that's an 8.
Okay.
So I just, an 8 represents infinity. So, you know, me being in alignment with the music, wanting it to last, I always make sure that an 8 is in there. So, yeah, I'm releasing a mixtape. There are going to be 8 songs, like always. And then I have, like I said, I have music with Brian. I have music with Teddy. I have music with Battlecat that I cannot wait for you guys to hear. I'm just so excited to have all of this amazing stuff just lined up for everybody to hear. So, but yeah, the closest thing that I know of so far will be the mixtape, November 17th, 2020.
So just for those of us who aren't hip hop fans who understand when you get a mixtape, you're just having different stuff on there. So I would assume we would have thought it would be an EP where you're just having a little small album of stuff. What is the mixtape that you're going to be releasing? What's
So here's the thing. So with these 8 records, they all have samples in them.
Okay.
I thought I wanted it to be like a nostalgic type of feel for some of the songs that we've loved in the past and we would like to hear revamped and revised. So we sampled music in all 8 of the songs, and I would have to go through this whole thing of getting it clear and everything like that to, you know, put it on. So I was like, you know what? Let's just put it out as a mixtape, because you can put it out as a mixtape because you aren't selling it. Like, so that's why I was like, I can like write, because I know everybody is waiting on stuff, because they're hearing everybody mention me in interviews and things like that. So they're like, who is this chick? Where's she come from? Why is everybody talking about her? Yeah. Like, why is everybody talking about this girl? So I'm going to, because, you know, all of they have the music, they know what I do, but the fans, they're just looking like, why is these big people talking about her? Who is this girl? Yeah. So, you know what? We'll put out a mixtape so you guys can kind of have an idea as to why.
So it's a mixtape, is it? So you're not going around giving out free tapes, or what? Does it mean you're going to release it on YouTube? How does that work?
So actually, I found an interesting kind of thing. I have my own website, so I'm going to put it on my website. But, you know, one thing that's important for me is to restore the mechanical royalty with musicians. That's went away, and we've kind of just took a big hit because music is not physical anymore. We can't give CDs. So I was like, we can't give tapes. So I was like, how can I replace that? I think that's highly important, figuring out how to make music back physical again. I heard today that vinyls are selling more than CDs, of course, because it's cool to have a vinyl.
Yeah.
It's not cool to have a CD player. So, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe we can make tapes back cool again. But what I did was I found these little keychains, and the keychains have like a code on it to where you can take your phone and it'll scan the code for you and it'll take you right to the project.
Okay.
So I said, I'm not selling the project, but I can sell the keychain.
Okay.
So for me, that's restoring the mechanical royalty, because I can sell the and I'm not selling the music, I'm just selling the keychain.
Okay.
But the keychain, the link on it, so that you can get the music for free. So you're buying the keychain and you're getting the music for free. So that's just something that I came up with. I'm going to keep coming up with different things.
Yeah.
But I'm really passionate about, you know, getting artists their independence back so that they can have their careers how they want them to be, and they don't necessarily have to depend on somebody else to do things for them. So
Yeah, no, that, I mean, that's very creative. But then again, you've got very creative, you've got links to very creative people around you and stuff. But but you're right. I think one of the issues I had in the early 90s was how the labels were selling a CD for $15, $20, and they were just ripping people off. And when Napster came out, it says, well, you don't need to buy the stuff, you can just download it for free. And that's when iTunes came in, and then Apple and stuff, but the labels, for them, they lost a lot of money up front, but then they signed all these big deals. So even though the artist isn't getting a lot, the labels are, you know, they've got 100 years worth of revenue streams and your licensing deals. So they're making so much money that it doesn't matter that the artists aren't making stuff. So, and I guess it's important that the artists, you create music. It's almost like if you make a painting, you sell it once, and then somebody else keeps selling it and makes all the money afterwards. And I think it's important to realize that the labels will say, here's $1 million advance, but they know they're going to get 100 million from your life's work, and you'd only get that million. And I think what artists need to learn is, are we in this for the long haul? Do I want to own my stuff and continue to own my stuff and slowly generate the income, or do I want it quickly in my face? And then realize, from Michael Jackson to Prince to even Kanye right now, they've all complained about, even Michael Jackson, who probably generated over $1 billion, realized at the end of the day, these guys, and Prince, the same thing. And so if these are the biggest artists that we've seen complain, people still aren't listening, because it's the quick, fast money, fast fame, and that has really distorted them.
Yeah, and I commend Kanye for what he's. I'm not saying that Kanye is perfect, but I commend Kanye for taking that step and showing his contracts, and then not only that, but creating a blueprint for how he feels that maybe going forward contracts can kind of redesign. And I'm just all for stuff like that. I'm all for people being able to pick how they want their artist careers to go. And so I'm happy to see that, and I'm happy to be a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have to appreciate the time you've spent, you know, going through your little life history and taking us through almost like a song, up, down, and around and stuff like that. Are we going to see videos? I think one of the things that as I said, I never sang, I never played, but I always was one of the people that thought that artists didn't do enough of behind the scenes videos, you know, why don't you record when you were laying down the vocals, so that you have stuff for fans to be able to see. You know, you don't need to spend $1 million on a video. You could just get someone recording you. I think that I saw the little documentary you did when you were doing, I think it was on your site, so showing how you come up with a creative process of music. And I'm thinking, well, you could have been recording a song, and then at the background we're watching that as a video and stuff.
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to see anything, any live performances, any?
Yeah, you guys are going to be able to see a lot more now that I'm stepping out as an artist.
Okay.
Because, you know, before, even though there's I have a reputation, it's been from the back. You know, so now that I'm coming forth as an artist, you guys will start to, you know, Privacy was my first video. So, you know, it was released earlier in the year. And so we're going to continue to do things like that. Was kind of like my test run to see, like, do y'all want it? Because, you know, I'm not gonna get in the kitchen and cook if y'all don't want to eat. So
Okay.
telling me we hungry, we want to eat, we want the mixtape, we want videos, we want pictures. It's like, okay, I'm gonna come cook for you. You know, I'm gonna cook it up for y'all to enjoy yourselves. And y'all saying y'all want it, so y'all gonna get it. Y'all gonna get it in the best way. So y'all gonna see a lot of things behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, on the side of the scenes. Y'all gonna see it all. I'm gonna open myself up and you know, really let you guys into this stuff, because it's really amazing, and it's really important for me to show people creating with this. I didn't have to depend on anybody. I didn't have to do anything I didn't want to do. I just, you know, dedicated myself to my vision. And I want people to see you can apply this to whatever you're doing, whether it's art, music, you know, clothes, you know, business ventures, whatever it is, you can apply this to it. Family, you can apply this and stick to it and see your visions come to life.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I can't end by not asking about, you know, you're wearing a T-shirt, the sort of, I remember Janet Jackson's, what was the name of her album that is it a Janet album?
I thought this was a, when I seen this was a Rolling Stone cover from the magazine. I'm not sure which album. If it was I don't know if it was an album cover.
Yeah,
but
it was the album with That's the Way Love Goes on it.
Was it? I'm not sure.
That was on. I think I can't remember right now. That was her first album with Virgin.
Janet? Was it on like just Janet?
It could be.
Was that album?
Yeah, it could be, but I was but I was wondering though. So, is that what inspired you to take it? And it was that.
Absolutely, Janet, such an influence for me because of how free she was with her sexuality, and how powerful she was with her sexuality. Like, I just love everything about Janet. I love the music that she created. And I do hope to do something with Janet. Something. I would like to do an album for her, you know, but if it's not that, at least a song. I just love and adore Janet and her power, her stage presence, everything she's been able to do stand the test of time as well. So I definitely wanted to honor and commemorate Janet with my artistry, you know, because I don't want, you know, certain artists, they should never disappear, and it's our job to keep them.
Yeah, it was.
Present.
Yeah, it was the Janet album.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. Okay, that was one of my first 5 CDs I bought. Yeah, it was the Janet album, and you're right. There are some artists who, you know, we look at Sade, Anita Baker, people who just have a tone, a voice, a style that is just irreplaceable. You know, Patti LaBelle, we heard about her. I mean, they're just, you know, and the sad thing is that we're not creating artists like that now. In the 80s and the early 90s, the labels were helping develop individuality. So you had a Luther who was very different, and they, you know, James Ingram and People Bryson, Freddie Jackson, they were able to be different. They didn't have to look like sex symbols. They could have their voice, and we embraced that. Now artists are very similar in how they look. It is very much videos are the same. How they sound. It's very much influenced by hip hop, because hip hop, it's very hard to be individual in hip hop. So everyone sounds auto-tuned out, sound the same. It's cheap to put out there. The record labels aren't putting so much in, and so we have been starved by real great music. So you see a generation of people going back to the 90s and looking back to to go into these 90s experiences, because it's like, look, that's when people put their time in the music. They sang about stuff. It was very different, and unfortunately, it's very hard. And then when I speak to, they say the same thing. How hip hop really, not blaming hip hop, but blaming how the industry made hip hop very much pop culture, and they saw if we can push hip hop across both black and white audiences, we can make more money. Country protected themselves, R&B didn't. It just got overwhelmed by hip hop. So now it's a hip hop artist featuring an R&B star. Back in the day,
Yeah.
it was yeah. So we're starved by music. We're starved by really great acts and talents and stuff. And I just wonder if people like yourselves, the vision you had when you were 15, if you're gonna, how you might see making this change.
Yeah, I mean, it's our, if this is your calling, you know, it's our responsibility to keep the essences of blues and jazz and classical music. Because, I mean, you know, it's not just about the music, it's about how it stimulates the brain and how it inspires people to think and create things. I really think it is the intersection, because you know, musicians, we're pulling things out of the air and we're creating, and we're telling you how it sounds, we're interpreting it. But I really feel that it's the intersection of heaven and earth. So I really think that being in that intersection, if you're a person who can pull that creativity out the sky and bring it to heaven, so I mean bring it to earth so people can hear what heaven sounds like. You know, we have a duty, we have a calling, and we shouldn't abuse that, you know, to make entities that don't necessarily care about us or our future. You know, we should make sure that we empower ourselves and put ourselves in positions to where we can use it how we see fit. And it starts here, believing in yourself and visualizing it and making the decisions and choices that are only in alignment with your vision. You know, don't let people trick you to not believe in yourself. You don't even let the world trick you. If you don't see resources, that's okay, because your inertia, your movement is going to attract and magnetize those things to you. I'm living proof. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I've literally created everything that you see around me happening out of this. Okay, I created it out of this. So I want people to know to just go, keep going. Don't get discouraged. Don't feel like, oh, well, I have to wait till I get this, or I have to wait till I get this. No, you don't. No, you don't. Create it with what you have. Do what you can, and it will magnetize to you. I promise you. I promise. It might take, but it will happen, and you will be happy. No matter if it happens tomorrow or 10 years, you're going to be happy when it happens. I promise you.
Well, I always end asking my guests, if you were stuck in an elevator and you were given a choice of a movie to watch while they get the elevator fixed, what movie would you ask to watch?
Boomerang.
Okay, wow.
Boomerang. Has to be Boomerang. Boomerang. Oh my God, I love that movie. I love like the 90s. I love Eddie Murphy. I love Halle Berry. Halle Berry is actually from my hometown. Okay. She's from Bedford. Yeah, so it would have to absolutely, and then the music, oh my God, there's a song in there. It's called Heaven. I go, spending time with you, la la, just like heaven. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I love that song. So I love the soundtrack. That was the New Jack Swing era, which I absolutely love. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Boomerang. And I guess the second question was always, if they had to say, okay, we're getting a movie in to put on, what song would you want to play before the movie comes on? What would it be then?
What song would I want to play before the movie comes on?
Yeah, before they put on the movie, they said, hey, we'll play a song for you.
Ooh. I'm going to say, see, that's a hard choice because I have, so it would depend on what kind of mood I'm in. Like, do I want to hear something sexy? Do I want to hear something inspiring? Do I want to hear something like, what do I want to hear? Do I want to hear something to rile me up? Like, what do I want to hear? There's all these different ways that I can go, but.
Well, most people think about if you had your song that this is my song, life or death, I gotta play my song. I mean,
Oh, my song?
I mean, no, not your personal song, but a song like.
Jesus. I don't. It might not be made yet. I think I'm gonna. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go make that song. I'm gonna go make that song. You know, there's so many different things that I can pick. You know what I mean? For different reasons. So, that's just too hard of a question. But I'm gonna go make a song like that for sure.
So before the song comes out, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it, you can think of a good. Mine is "Lady in My Life," Michael Jackson. Night and day.
That's a good one.
so that's that's how. So I was just wondering if there was a song that you're like, okay, you know.
That's a really, really good one. You know what? I can't. This is so much. I can't do it.
You can figure this out.
Jeez Louise. When I think of all of them, you know, because I just like all different. At least can I just pick an artist? If it had to be an artist, it will be Nat King Cole. So whatever he's singing, I'm happy with it.
Okay, so we've got a lot of his tracks.
You know what? I'll pick. The Christmas song. I'll pick when Nat King Cole sings. Though it's been said many times, many ways.
Merry Christmas.
That song.
Okay.
Nat King Cole. That's just this is magic. Every time Nat King Cole sings, I'm just smiling. You know what I mean? If I was alive during that time, Nat.
Yeah.
That would be all me. I love that man. Oh. Nat King Cole.
Now, I've probably done over 40 of these, and this is the longest I've had someone come up with a track. I'm like, fuck it.
That is hard. You have to understand, I listen to so much music all the time. It's so hard to pick something like that, but you know, if it would have to be Nat, and anything he sings, I'm happy.
See, I said Lady in My Life, my number one. Christopher Williams, All I See is in my top 3, and Luther's House Is Not a Home. So I know that these are like 3 songs I always cherish, but Michael's The Lady in My Life is in fact, it's so powerful that I don't listen to it too often, so I don't want to sort of spoil it. It's like, okay, every 2 months I can have a little snippet of it and put it.
I have that too.
Yeah. But we spent a long time. I appreciate the time. It was really interesting, great listening and talking to you. You know, just hearing your journey, hearing you know, it's very fascinating story that you have and stuff, and and I can't wait to see how the music that comes out sort of mirrors your colorful, inspirational life that we've heard today and stuff. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.